If the model we follow is that we allow poachers to kill the animals so that they can harvest the horn, then this is most certainly not sustainable. But there's obviously a much better model out there that is entirely sustainable. And it starts by understanding that we trim the horn anyway, regularly, because our primary job is to make sure that the rhinos survive and thrive. A part of that is protecting them from poachers, but part of that is protecting them from each other. We lost 9 rhino in my first year of running this reserve, and that was really heartbreaking for us. We lost 4 of them to Clostridia. It's a bacterial infection that erupts at certain times of year. And we now vaccinate against that so that we haven't lost any animals further. But we lost 5 of them because rhinos killed rhinos, and that's what they do in the wild. That's the primary purpose of the horn, is to do combat within the species. So we trim that horn to minimize the damage that happens when they fight. And we trim it in a way that is painless, and it grows back constantly. So a rhino will live for 40, 45 years. Within 3 years, that horn has grown back to the point where you can't tell that it was ever trimmed. And they'll have sharpened it against rocks and trees until it looks like a horn again, and it's back to exactly the way it was. So at the very base of the horn, there are nerves and blood supply, and that's live tissue, like the roots of our hair or the base of our fingernails. But as it grows out, that's dead tissue, and so we trim that dead tissue, being very careful not to hit anything that would hurt the animal. And we do that while they're tranquilized so that they're not running around hurting themselves or hurting us. And then we reverse the tranquilizer, and they get up and they run off, they join their buddies again. And we have to do that repeatedly because it's constantly growing back, and we're trying to minimize the damage they do to each other. And that leaves us with a pile of rhino horn. And now across southern Africa, we're generating about 14 tons of that rhino horn every single year. That waste product to us, every single year, 14 tons of that material. And we have about 90 tons in storage. Now, to understand that in context, it's important to understand that the poaching syndicates, in the worst year of poaching ever in southern Africa, were shipping about 5 tons of horn per year out to markets. So 5 tons was the supply that was hitting the market. We generate 14 tons a year of fresh horn every single year, and we have 90 tons in storage across Namibia, Zimbabwe, and mostly South Africa. What could we do with that 90 tons and that 14 tons? Well, if you understand that rhino populations grow at about 10% per year if protected, and you assume that what we want to do would protect the rhino, and they would then grow. So we have a certain number of rhino, and that next year we'd have 10% more, and the next year 10% more. We start with what we have. We generate 14 tons per year. We can top that up to 35 tons from the stored material and provide 7 times more horn to market than they've received in decades, than the current market price supports. 7 times more, without a single animal being hurt, without a single animal being killed. And the next year we can provide another 35 tons. Now instead of 14 tons, we'll create 15.4 tons. And we take a little bit less out of storage, top it up to 35 tons. And the next year we take a little bit less out of storage and a little bit less, and we're always sending 35 tons to market. By the time we deplete that stockpile, we'll be producing 35 tons sustainably every single year, and the rhino will have been saved. There is no need for poaching syndicates to provide this material. They only do so because we've gifted them a monopoly.